My name is Jay+Smith, and I am the pastor of First Baptist Church of Bozeman+Montana and director of the Bridger Community Ministries. For the last 5 years, before I went to Montana, I was the professor of Christian Studies and dealt with theology at Howard Payne University in Brownwood, Texas. I am a graduate of Howard Payne, and at least two of us in that room share that distinction. So Steve Harmon and I don't know if any of you rescue or Yellow Jackets or not, but we tend to be all over the country nowadays. Howard Payne, I'm a graduate of the third class of Truett Seminary at Baylor. Regent College, THM, studied with Stanley Grenz. I did a doctorate of ministry degree with Stan at Carey Theological College, both in Vancouver, British Columbia, and my PhD from the University of Bristol in England, and I did my PhD on Stanley Grenz, go figure. So I am a Baptist, and I am so glad to be here with all of you. But now I am not just a pastor at First Baptist Bozeman, I'm now the founding principal of Yellowstone Theological Institute. The story is this, before I get into my prepared remarks. The story is knowing that I really felt called to go back into pastoral ministry, yet knowing I loved teaching theology. Went and visited a church in Montana. They were interested in me, and when you have a billionaire in your church who loves the Lord and would like to be on the edge of something, it's real easy to talk about doing something new and creative for Baptists in North America. So if you have anybody have a cell phone here? Does anyone have one with an antenna on it? Remember the old ones, the big boxes with the old, Klein Gilhausen, if you have a small cell phone, you owe that to a guy named Klein Gilhausen, who's the member of my church. So I want you to know, even today, as you make a phone call, you're contributing to Yellowstone Theological. Yellowstone Theological Institute, or Yeti, you like to call it up north, is in its very several stages of development. First Baptist Church of Bozeman is affiliated with American Baptist Churches USA, American Baptist Churches Northwest, and the Cooperative Baptist Fellowship. First Baptist Church has devoted sizable resources, as I just explained to you, to the development of a theological college in Bozeman to serve Baptists, not only in the Northwest, though I want you to know that really the closest theological education facility we have to us is in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. So we're a long ways from anybody, and there is no real theological education going on in Montana at the graduate level at all. But we want to serve Baptists not only in the Northwest, where there is a sizable population, but from all over the country. If you'll look at your brochure, the front picture is taken from a ranch and it looks across the Gallatin Valley, across Bozeman into the Bridger Mountain Range, which is where this will be. And this young man on these skis on the back is a member of First Baptist Bozeman, and they took this with his iPhone at 12,000 feet. But we want to serve people from all over the country, and if cowboys and skiers don't do it, I don't know what does. Currently, we are negotiating with prospective faculty members. We have a list of our prospects, and at least one of you is on it, Bruce. And we're having them come in July for a summit meeting to try and woo them a bit more. We are creating and adjusting our programs. You can see that we've already got a bit down on in terms of the kind of programs we want to offer at a seminary level. We are working with ATS on this in terms of preparing for accreditation when we get going. And we're planning conferences for this next year. We have our first conference will be in October, dealing with cowboy church ministries. We're very excited about that, and hoping at some point in time we can get in the, as we would say in Great Britain, the queue for a VHHS conference. On the face of this, it would seem like this is a bit premature, but I don't think so. And I just want to share with you why. For those of you who are in higher education and theological education, you know it's in a state of upheaval. And the people behind the creation of Yeti realize the time is upon us to embrace a methodological paradigm shift. Those of us from beyond the Bible Belt especially understand the necessity of this shift. cultural Christianity is all but gone north of the Mason-Dixon line. I think one of my big issues was having pastored in Washington State and coming to Howard Pay to teach was, although I grew up below the Mason-Dixon line, it was awfully difficult coming back to it after experiencing the kind of ministries we had in Washington State. So the pulpit for which I was trained, in Truett, no longer exists in most of our country today. Much of the decline and change we've been experiencing for years in the north now, you are now experiencing in the south. Theological programs in our current colleges and seminaries have to adapt quickly to the demands of a changing culture and a changing church, or we risk losing already meager student dollars. And as many of you know, that's a big deal nowadays. We probably now have an MDiv and business and culture, I'm sure, somewhere. We've got to adjust or change. So, and many of my mainline colleagues, these cultural changes have brought disaster for them. Friends in the Episcopal tradition, the Lutheran tradition, the Presbyterian tradition, they're all struggling right now. In the Baptist tradition, the Free Church tradition, of course, we are probably able to weather these changes better than most. But our churches and our institutions are either adjusting to this, you know, all the discussions we had at Howard Payne were about how much of our degrees can we offer online, right? How many of them need to be residential degrees? Those are all issues that we face. And we can face them better than most. And if we don't face them, we end up closing our doors. So to consider starting a new theological institute, this climate means that those at YTI, Yeti are either foolish for starting another seminary or brilliant for going beyond the boundaries to the edge of the frontier, literally. What can I say? I hope it's the latter. Although it is our hope to offer an ATS-accredited Master of Divinity degree shortly here, our greater concern is to offer a theological education that is meaningful in this cultural context. The Yeti brochure at your table states that our educational view is theologically generous, Baptistically informed, ecumenically oriented, culturally sensitive, liturgically passionate, and environmentally engaged. I know it sounds like a really good 6-point sermon, but it's truly a sketch of an ethos. It's a sketch of an ethos. And more than anyone, it describes Stanley Grenz and his Baptist ethos in terms of how are we Baptist in a culture outside of the Bible Belt that is increasingly influenced by the postmodern. And the educational program that we're coming up with is designed to engage at that frontier. Those of you who knew Stan understands the ethos of Yeti. This will be a theological institute for adventuresome Baptists. We want the best, the brightest, and the most creative students, or at least the ones you're willing to let go of. Students who are willing to be transformed. And we want them enough that we are willing to endow our student enrollment to keep costs at a record low. So when you actually have money to spend on endowment, you spend it on making sure your faculty are paid really well and making sure that your students are underwritten to whatever degree that you can possibly do that. If you read the Chronicle recently of anything about theological and higher education, it costs too much. And the student loan burdens are too much. We're trying to keep that really low. But we don't want to simply graduate ministry students for ministry positions. We are spending a sizable amount of money developing a Christian leadership program for men and women who will be leaders outside of ordained ministry. Imagine Renaissance weekends for Christian leaders, or a year-long graduate program designed to develop Christian leaders, Baptist Christian leaders, whether or not they plan to attend seminary. We are contacting Christian leaders from all fields of study, from politics to economics to the sciences and fine arts, to participate. And truly we'd like for many of you to participate with us in this adventure as guest lecturers or conference participants. And although we know many of you are already linked to the graduate school or seminary, we would like for you to consider Yeti as an option for your students, whether for a weekend, or a year, or 3 years. We need strong voices for Baptist theological education that operate outside of the boundaries, blazing new trails for contemporary Baptist life, and we believe Yellowstone Theological Institute can be one of those voices. Coming to Bozeman, when I talked to the leadership team there about this vision for their property, their vision originally was, we need to build another church building. When I realized that we had one of the new up-and-coming Baptist church historians. Why? I still am trying to figure out why Bruce is in Bozeman. But when we figured that out, he and I together in our educational links, when we figured out that we had enough people who were willing to buy into the vision of what Yellowstone is about and the opportunity to do something different in Baptist life, it was an opportunity that we couldn't refuse, and the opportunity to engage the Gilhousen Family Foundation and others has just been incredible. ABC Northwest has thrown their full support behind Yeti, and we're very excited about Baptist life in general. We're hoping to make connections with many of the seminaries below the Mason-Dixon line, below the belt, as it were, and connect and have really a positive dialogue to create a new future for Baptists in America today. So I want to encourage you to do a couple things. Grab a folder, take it home, look at it, and there's an email, there is a website on back, and that stuff actually goes right to me right now. It all goes to mine. And if you have suggestions or ideas or possibilities, Bruce and I really want to draw off of your expertise in order to make this an institution that Baptists can be just as proud of as they are of Baylor or Howard Payne or Sanford or Campbell or anywhere. We want the A to be part of that constellation. So please, grab one of these, read it, and get back to me or Bruce about suggestions or ideas. We would love to hear from you. And finally, there's a whole herd of these still out there. I beg you, take them to your children and grandchildren. I refuse to take them on the plane. Yeah? I won't do that again. Thank you very much. God bless you. And I hope to see you in not only Sioux Falls, but eventually in Bozeman.